Hi guys, it's Mara Sievers here today with a quick video where I basically answer a question that I get a lot about increasing your studio or adding on to your studio and what the best way would be to grow, to add equipment, so on and so forth. And it's a very specific scenario where we're talking about a solo studio owner, right? So just one person having a very small space. I love this sort of concept. And then how are you going to maximize the studio? How are you going to get more out of it? And the popular thing to do is to do group equipment classes right now, right? So you could do 3 chairs, exo chairs, for instance, by Balanced Body, or made specifically affordable, so you can buy more of them, and then do group classes of 3 or 4 people, or how many you can fit. So let's stick with like 4 or something, just because we're talking about a small studio, not a big, humongous studio with like 12 reformers. Or even 6 or 8 reformers is a lot. It's a lot more money to invest initially in the equipment. That's obviously, it's a very popular system, and I think it can work very well for people, and many people do it. I would be the last person to discourage you from that, because it obviously works. So basically, you can reduce the cost to the person. And you might get more out of it. I would very, very highly recommend you charge more than what you want to get for a private session, because this is one of the ways that you can make a little bit more money per hour than what you can charge for a private lesson. For sure, I think doing chair classes, reformer classes, any of that is very popular. And so here comes my big concern, or my big if. You might or might not know that, but what I did in the studio that I owned and managed for 8 years, 6 years into it, I decided to completely switch to an open studio concept. And I called it different names, but the last name that I used was, or the one name that I used was Pilates by Design, and then another name at the end before I sold it was Group Practice. I didn't want to call it classes to set it apart from the concept that I just explained, where it's just a class on chairs. We are all on chairs, and the teacher is teaching a class. I wanted to distinguish that and call it Group Practice. And what it is it's definitely following the principle that Joseph Pilates used in his studio, where everybody's on a different piece of equipment and everybody does a program that's specifically targeted to them. So that's just something that I'm a huge fan of. I wish there were more out there like that, and I think that is how Pilates can shine in terms of how you can use the method for what it's made to be, which is to bring us back, to return us to health, right? To return us to life, and to nurture our health. I believe that this concept is popular with people or in studios that are more towards working more with either rehabilitation, post-rehabilitation, injured, deconditioned clients. It's probably not going to be very popular if you have a clientele that's young, 20-somethings, professionals, 30-somethings, people that want to sweat. But I think it is the best way that I see at this point to give a group pricing, right? Because it's really just about the money. A group price to a client who cannot do a group class, if that makes sense, right? So if you have a student who has a herniated disc and then maybe some stenosis, or just had a knee replacement or whatever, they cannot do your classes, right? So if you do, especially a chair class with like an extra chair class without poles, I don't see how I could help a student with those limitations in a good, integral way. Like, it's always about modifying here and modifying there, and it just gets on everybody's nerves. I think we as Pilates instructors are not supposed to be completely worn out at the end of the day because we have to come up with a personalized program for this person in a group session who, pays a group session price. So I think the open studio concept where each student learns their specific program and then practices that, and then it's very adaptable. So if something happens, let's say I've had a student who was preparing herself for a knee replacement, 2 knee replacements, then had the knee replacement and came back. She can really just smoothly keep going. She has one program before, and then we switch it up to after, but there's no interruption. She doesn't have to stop Pilates. A lot of the times, right? That's when you lose students because something happens in their bodies and they say, oh, I can't do this anymore. This class doesn't work because the exercises that we happen to do don't work. And then it's not fair to the other students if you change the class that you teach, your sequencing to fit this one person, and then what about the other students, right? It's just not ideal. So I'm a huge proponent of the open studio concept. If you go to pilatesopenstudio.com, there's a link. You can sign up for a newsletter, and so that we can keep the conversation going. I'm planning on putting out more resources for studios to implement this. There's also a Facebook group. I have a free Facebook group. You can just search on Facebook as well for Pilates Open Studios /Open Gym. Join there, and we can talk about this a little bit more. But the short and sweet of it is you would have whichever equipment you have, and I would recommend you get one of each. So get one trapeze table, get one chair, a high chair if you have it, or something with poles at least. Get a ladder barrel, get a reformer, and then any other equipment that you like. If you have a Coraline, I think Coralines are amazing, or spine correctors. So you have the variety, you have each piece that can help a specific client, and then you just give them the program. I can obviously help you more figure out how that actually works in the day-to-day thing. Like I said, I've done it at Concord Pilates in New Hampshire. It's very, very successfully for 2 years. People love it. They now ask me, like, where can I continue to work like that if they, move or visit someplace. So I hope that more studios will join that. I think it's going to be a great solution for a specific client. It's not the best. It's not going to be the ultimate one solution and nothing else, because I know that it does require a little bit of getting used to for students who've never worked like that. But once they're used to it, they're loving it, and you can actually serve them for the rest of their life. So there's that. Okay. Hope that was helpful. Let's ask me any questions, anything you want to know about this. Let's keep the conversation going. It was really just a start, right? Okay. Take care. Bye.